The smallest sound in the room was the one that could get a man killed. Bella Morgan heard it beneath the hiss of steaming milk, beneath the scrape of chairs across tile, beneath the low morning conversations of people who believed they were safe. A single metallic click. Clean, deliberate, wrong. Her hands stopped around the stainless steel pitcher, though the espresso machine kept roaring beside her. For half a second the cafe looked exactly as it had a moment before. Rain streaked the windows facing Lexington Avenue. A delivery driver waited near the register. Two nurses in blue scrubs shared a blueberry muffin by the door. A man in a charcoal coat argued quietly into his phone. Nothing had changed, yet every instinct in Bella's body told her the room had shifted. Her father had taught her to recognize dangerous sounds long before she understood why he thought she needed to know them. He had spent 22 years in the Marine Corps, and even after retirement, he never sat with his back to a door. He used to tell her that danger rarely announced itself with shouting. It came softly, a latch lifting, a floorboard bending, a breath held too long. Bella had rolled her eyes when she was 16. Now at 26, she heard his voice as clearly as if he stood beside her. Pay attention to the sound no one else notices. Her gaze moved toward the man seated at table 7. Vincent Lombardi had entered less than 3 minutes earlier with two men who looked too alert to be friends and too disciplined to be ordinary employees. Bella had never seen him before, but she had recognized power the moment he stepped inside. The room had made space for him without understanding why. He wore a dark navy overcoat over a tailored suit, his black hair touched with silver at the temples. He had ordered coffee in a calm, low voice. No cream, no sugar. He had not looked at the menu. He had not looked at the prices. He had chosen the chair facing the front windows, leaving his right shoulder exposed to the narrow aisle behind him. That detail bothered her now. One of his security men stood near the entrance. The other had stepped outside to answer call. For the first time since Vincent arrived, no one watched the aisle behind him. Bella lowered the milk pitcher and reached for a ceramic cup, forcing her movements to remain steady. She did not turn toward the sound. Her father had taught her that too. Never show someone what you know before you understand what they know. In the reflection of the pastry case, she searched the crowded room. The polished glass gave her broken pieces of faces, coats, hands, and movement. A customer sat 4 feet behind Vincent, wearing a tan baseball cap pulled low. He had entered 10 minutes earlier and ordered nothing but bottled water. Bella remembered because he had paid in cash and refused the receipt. One hand rested beneath the table. His shoulders were too still. Everyone else moved in small, unconscious ways. They checked their phones, shifted their feet, rubbed tired eyes. He did none of those things. The metallic click had come from his direction. Bella's pulse climbed into her throat. She could call out. She could duck behind the counter. She could pretend she had heard nothing. That was what the sensible part of her wanted. Stay invisible. Stay safe. Do not step into another person's danger. It was the rule she had lived by since her father died 15 years earlier, after stopping to help a stranded driver on an icy highway. He had stopped because he believed leaving someone alone was worse than taking the risk. Bella had spent 15 years resenting that belief. Now Vincent lifted his coffee cup, unaware of the man behind him. The customer in the baseball cap shifted his hidden hand. Bella caught the faintest movement beneath the edge of the table. She had no proof, no time. Only the sound, only instinct, only the terrible knowledge that doing nothing was still a choice. She grabbed the fresh cup of coffee meant for another customer and stepped out from behind the counter. "Sir," she called. Vincent looked up. His eyes were dark, controlled, and instantly suspicious. Bella walked faster. The man behind him began to rise. She did not scream, she did not point. She let the toe of her sneaker catch the leg of an empty chair and threw herself forward, sending the coffee across Vincent's coat and the table between them. The cup struck the floor with a sharp crack. Every head in the cafe turned. Vincent moved at once, rising and stepping sideways as his men rushed toward him. Behind him, the customer in the baseball cap froze for the briefest instant before disappearing into a wave of umbrellas and winter coats near the door. Silence held the cafe for one stunned second, then voices erupted around her. Bella stood with both hands raised, breathless, staring at the dark stains spreading across Vincent Lombardi's expensive coat. His bodyguards surrounded them, but Vincent barely seemed to notice the ruined coffee. His attention stayed on her. He looked from Bella to the open door, then to the place where the man had been sitting. When his gaze returned, it had sharpened into something that made the noisy room feel suddenly smaller. "You did not trip," he said. Bella's mouth went dry. She could still hear the click in her memory. She could still see the empty chair behind him. "No," she admitted. Vincent studied her for a long moment while rain blew through the open doorway and the cafe seemed to hold its breath. Then, without taking his eyes off her, he gave a single order: lock the doors. The lock clicked into place before Bella could decide whether the sound made her feel safer or trapped. One of Vincent's security men moved quickly toward the front entrance, turning the deadbolt and lowering the shade halfway across the glass. The second stepped between Vincent and the room, scanning every face with a calm that felt more dangerous than panic. Customers protested at once. A man near the register demanded to know what was happening. One of the nurses reached for her phone. The delivery driver backed toward the wall. Bella remained beside table 7, her shoes planted among drops of coffee and broken ceramic, while Vincent watched her as though the rest of the cafe had disappeared. "Nobody is leaving until we understand what just happened," he said. His voice was quiet, but the complaints faded anyway. Bella looked toward the empty chair where the man in the baseball cap had been sitting. His unopened bottle of water remained on the table. A dark ring of condensation marked the wood beneath it. Everything else about him was gone. "You saw someone," Vincent said. "It was not a question," Bella swallowed. "I saw a man get up after I spilled the coffee. Before that." His tone did not change, but something in his expression did. He was not looking for reassurance. He was rebuilding the sequence. He came in about herself to do the same. Tan baseball cap, grey jacket, bottled water, paid cash. One of Vincent's men moved toward the abandoned table. Did he speak to anyone? Bella searched her memory. The morning rush had been loud, but she remembered small things. She always did. No. He chose that seat even though 2 better tables were open. He kept one hand hidden beneath the table. He never checked his phone. Vincent's gaze sharpened. And the sound? Bella felt every person in the room listening. A metallic click. You recognized it. She hesitated. The truth felt too personal to offer a stranger, especially one whose arrival had turned an ordinary neighborhood cafe into something else entirely. "My father served in the Marine Corps," she said. "He taught me to pay attention." Vincent glanced at the broken cup near her feet. "He taught you to throw coffee at armed men?" "He taught me not to wait for certainty when certainty comes too late." For the first time, Vincent's expression shifted. Not warmth, not gratitude, something closer to surprise. It disappeared almost as quickly as it came. He turned to the guard near the entrance. "Check the back exit. Call Anthony. Tell him we have a breach." The word settled heavily in Bella's mind. Breach. Not attack, not accident. It suggested that someone had failed or someone had helped. Vincent removed his stained overcoat and handed it to his guard without taking his eyes off her. Beneath it, his suit remained perfectly pressed, except for a dark splash across one sleeve. He seemed less like a customer now, and more like the center of a machine that had suddenly revealed itself. "What is your name?" he asked. "Bella Morgan. How long have you worked here?" 2 years. "Who knew I was coming?" "I did not know you were coming." "That was not my question." Bella's fingers curled at her sides. "The owner knew a private client had reserved table 7. I saw the note on the schedule this morning. There was no name." Vincent glanced toward the counter. Upstairs. Office above the kitchen. One of his men started toward the hallway before Vincent spoke. Bella stepped into his path. The guard stopped, more from surprise than obedience. "He is 71 years old," she said. "He has a heart condition. You are not going up there like that." The cafe became very still. Vincent studied her with open disbelief. "Like what?" "Like everyone in this room is guilty until you decide otherwise." The guard's jaw tightened, but Vincent lifted one hand and the man remained where he was. Bella knew she should back down. Every sensible instinct told her to stop challenging someone who could command silence without raising his voice. But the fear around her had changed shape. It was no longer only fear of the man who had escaped. It was fear of what Vincent might do in response. "Mr. Carter hired me when nobody else would," she continued. "You can question him, but you will not frighten him." Vincent held her gaze for several long seconds. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Somewhere behind the counter, the espresso machine hissed as if nothing had happened. "You saved my life," he said at last. "That does not give you authority over my people." "No," Bella replied. "It gives me the right to decide what kind of person I saved." Silence settled over the room. Vincent's eyes remained on hers, unreadable and steady. Then he turned to his guard. "Ask Mr. Carter to come downstairs, politely." The man nodded and disappeared toward the kitchen. Bella released a slow breath she had not realized she had been holding. Vincent stepped closer, stopping on the other side of the ruined table. "You are either the bravest woman in New York," he said. "Today might be both." A faint vibration came from the abandoned table. Bella looked down. The bottle of water shifted slightly. Beside it, half hidden beneath a folded napkin, a black cell phone lit up with an incoming message. Vincent reached for it, but Bella saw the words first. 2 short lines glowed across the screen. The girl heard it. Take care of her before noon. The message remained on the screen for 3 seconds before the phone went dark, but Bella had already memorized every word. The girl heard it. Take care of her before noon. Her body reacted before her mind could catch up. The cafe seemed to tilt around her. 12 customers, 2 exits, 1 narrow hallway behind the counter, rain pressing against the windows. The old clock above the pastry case read 8:43. Vincent picked up the phone with a hand that did not shake. Everyone stays where they are for another minute, he said. Nobody touches the abandoned table. His men moved at once. One checked the windows while the other returned from the stairwell with Mr. Carter walking carefully beside him, one hand pressed against the center of his chest. Bella crossed the room before anyone could stop her. Sit down, she told her employer, pulling out a chair. Slow breaths. You are all right. Mr. Carter looked from her to Vincent, then to the locked door. Bella, what happened? She wanted to give him an answer that would calm him. She had none. Someone left a phone, she said. That is all we know for certain. It was not everything they knew, but Vincent's steady gaze warned her not to repeat the threat in front of the room. Mr. Carter lowered himself into the chair. His face had lost color. Bella crouched beside him and checked his pulse with 2 fingers, counting the beats while forcing her own breathing to slow. 98, fast but regular. Your medication is upstairs, she asked. He nodded. One of Vincent's men immediately turned toward the stairs. Blue bottle in the top desk drawer, Bella said. The man disappeared without waiting for permission. Vincent watched her, not with suspicion this time, with calculation. She could almost feel him rearranging what he thought he knew about her. The reservation, he said to Mr. Carter. Who made it? Mr. Carter blinked. Said he represented a private investment group, paid for the table by card. Name, David Hall. At least that is what he said. Vincent handed the phone to the guard near the door, photographed the screen, then placed the phone on the table. Send the booking details to Anthony. Quietly, Bella stood. You need to let these people leave. Vincent looked toward the rain-blurred windows, then at the frightened customers. Not through the front. There is a threat against me, not them. Which means the person watching may be waiting to see which exit you use. Keeping everyone together gives them one clear location. His eyes narrowed slightly. Bella knew she had reached something useful. The man in the cap escaped through the front, she continued. He knows you are still here. If someone else is watching the building, every minute we remain in one group makes us easier to track. Vincent considered that without speaking. Bella pointed toward the employees' hallway. There is a service exit behind the kitchen. It opens into an alley between this building and the pharmacy. Most customers do not know it exists. Who does? Staff, delivery crews, the owner, and the person who reserved the table. Bella looked toward Mr. Carter. He lowered his eyes. I emailed a floor plan when they asked about accessibility, he admitted. They said one of the guests used a wheelchair. Vincent's expression turned cold, but Bella stepped closer before he could answer. He was trying to help. He gave a stranger the exits. He was deceived. People get hurt when good intentions replace caution. The words landed harder than Vincent seemed to expect. Bella heard her father's voice in them, twisted into something darker. People also get hurt when fear replaces judgment, she said. For one moment neither moved. Then the guard returned with Mr. Carter's medication. Bella gave him water and waited until his breathing eased. Vincent glanced at the black phone, then at the customers. We move them out through the rear exit in small groups, he said. Ask them not to use their phones until they are at least 2 blocks away, and make it clear that they are free to refuse. Bella rose slowly. And me, you are coming with me? No. The answer came too quickly to take back. A few customers turned toward them. Vincent lowered his voice. Someone has placed a deadline on your life. That does not make you my owner. It makes you a target. Then call the police. Something unreadable crossed his face. The police should be called, but until we know who arranged this. Announcing our exact position over an open channel could make the situation worse. Bella looked at his guards. Whoever sent that message knew where you would be, knew when one of your men would step outside, and knew I had noticed the sound before your security did. She held Vincent's gaze. That means someone close to your operation gave them information. The room seemed to grow quieter. Vincent did not deny it. That frightened her more than anger would have. His phone vibrated. He answered, listened for several seconds, and said only, understood. When he ended the call, his attention returned to Bella. Anthony checked the payment details attached to the reservation. The card belongs to a man who died 6 months ago. Bella felt cold spread through her hands. And the number used to make the booking? A prepaid line. It was disconnected 30 minutes after the call. So you know nothing. I know enough to understand that this was planned. He stepped closer, not threatening, but impossible to ignore. The message says before noon. That gives us 3 hours and 17 minutes. You can spend them arguing with me, or you can spend them somewhere harder to reach. Bella glanced at Mr. Carter, at the frightened customers, at the rain-blurred street beyond the glass. Staying would endanger them. Leaving with Vincent might place her inside a world she did not understand. She hated both choices. Then the black phone lit up again on the abandoned table. No new message appeared, only a photograph. Bella saw herself standing behind the counter that morning, captured through the cafe's rain-streaked front window. Beneath the image was a timestamp from 7 minutes earlier. Someone had been watching. Bella stared at the photograph until the room around her seemed to lose its edges. The image had been taken from less than 30 feet away. She could see the steam rising behind her, the silver pitcher in her hand, even the small coffee stain near her apron pocket. Whoever had taken it had been close enough to watch her breathe. Vincent turned toward the front windows. Rain blurred every passing face into a shadow. "Move everyone through the service exit," he said. 2 at a time. His men moved immediately. One checked the alley behind the kitchen, while the other began guiding customers toward the rear hallway. Bella stepped toward Vincent. "You are not taking their phones. I am trying to keep our route from being announced before everyone is safely away. They are frightened customers, not prisoners. One careless message could tell whoever is watching exactly where we are going. Then ask them not to use their phones. Do not treat them like suspects." Vincent watched her for a long moment before giving a single nod. "Tell everyone to keep their phones off until they are at least 2 blocks away." Bella relaxed slightly. "That is different." She pointed toward the monitor beneath the register. 4 camera feeds showed the cafe, the sidewalk, the service hallway, and the narrow alley behind the building. "The system stores the last 48 hours. We can check who was outside when that photograph was taken." Vincent followed her gaze. "Show me." Bella moved behind the counter and entered the access code. Her fingers trembled once, then steadied. She rewound the sidewalk recording by 8 minutes. Rain moved backward across the screen. Customers re-entered the cafe. Cars rolled in reverse along Lexington Avenue. At 8:36, a dark sedan stopped across the street beside a fire hydrant. The windows were tinted. No one stepped out. Bella slowed the recording. A rear window lowered less than an inch. A phone appeared behind the glass, aimed toward the cafe. "There," she said. Vincent leaned closer to the monitor. "Can you read the plate?" "Not from this angle." She switched to the alley camera, then to the service hallway. "But if they were watching the front, we should leave through the back." Vincent's guard returned from the kitchen. "The alley is clear. The vehicles are 3 minutes away." "No vehicle," Bella said. Both men looked at her. Vincent lowered his voice. "Explain. Whoever planned this knew your schedule. They knew which table you would use. When one of your security men stepped outside and where you would probably go next, they will expect you to leave in one of your own vehicles. Walking is not safer." "I did not say walking." Bella pointed toward the delivery driver standing near the wall. His waterproof jacket carried the logo of a local bakery. Beyond the kitchen, his white box truck was parked at the loading entrance. "His truck has no side windows. It leaves after the morning delivery. Someone watching for your vehicles is unlikely to notice it." Vincent looked at the driver. The man swallowed. "I only deliver here. Nobody knows my route except dispatch." Bella turned to him. "Mason, you do not have to do this." "You stopped Mr. Carter from firing me when I broke the display case last winter," he said. "I can drive you wherever you need to go." Vincent studied him for a moment, then nodded to his guard. "Check the truck." Bella faced Vincent again. "The customers leave first. Mr. Carter goes with the nurses. Then we go. You are still giving orders. I am trying to keep innocent people out of your problem." His expression hardened, but not with anger. Something more complicated moved behind his eyes. "This became your problem the moment someone decided you mattered. No, it became mine when someone decided my life was disposable." The word surprised even her. For 15 years, Bella had treated danger as something that belonged to other people. She had built her life around avoiding it, believing caution could protect her from the kind of loss that had taken her father. Now a stranger had placed a deadline over her life, and fear no longer felt like shelter. It felt like surrender. Vincent glanced at the clock. 8:56. 3 hours and 4 minutes, he said quietly. That is how long we have until noon. I am not arguing about philosophy. Bella ejected the cafe's backup drive and slipped it into her coat pocket. I am making sure we do not leave our evidence behind. Vincent looked at the drive in her hand. You noticed the sedan, chose an exit they would not expect, and preserved the footage before my people asked. I work here, I know this place better than you do. That is not what I meant. Bella did not answer. The first group of customers disappeared through the kitchen. The nurses guided Mr. Carter between them, his color slowly returning. One by one, the cafe emptied until only Bella, Vincent, his 2 security men, and Mason remained. The sudden quiet made every sound distinct. Rain against glass, the hum of refrigeration, the ticking clock. Vincent's guard returned from the loading entrance. Truck is clear. Bella removed her apron and folded it carefully on the counter. Her name tag caught the overhead light. She had worn it every shift for 2 years. Leaving it behind felt like stepping out of one life without knowing whether she would return. Vincent waited near the hallway, giving her more space than she expected. Where are you taking me? She asked. Somewhere the person watching cannot easily reach you. That is not an answer. It is the only one I can give until I know who betrayed my schedule. Bella picked up her coat and adjusted the backup drive inside her pocket. Then understand something before I get into that truck. I am not your hostage, I am not your employee, and I am not a debt you get to collect. Vincent held her gaze, agreed. The answer came without hesitation. It unsettled her more than an argument would have. They crossed the kitchen and entered the alley where the bakery truck waited with its rear doors open. Bella climbed inside first. Shelves of empty bread trays lined the walls, and the air smelled faintly of flour and cinnamon. Vincent followed, along with 1 security man. The doors closed, cutting off the grey morning. A moment later, the truck pulled away from the loading dock. Bella counted 3 turns before Vincent's phone vibrated. He looked at the screen, and every trace of calm left his face. Bella could not read the message, but she saw his hand tighten around the phone. What is it? She asked. Vincent lifted his eyes to hers. The photograph was sent from a number registered to someone inside my house. The bakery truck rolled steadily through Manhattan while Bella watched Vincent's face become unreadable again. The change was subtle, almost invisible, but she saw it in the way his shoulders settled and his voice fell quiet. Whose number? She asked. Vincent did not answer immediately. He looked toward the security man beside him. Call Anthony, use the secure line. Find Elena. The guard unlocked his phone and placed the call. Bella stored the name away. Elena. Someone inside Vincent's home. Someone whose number had been linked to the photograph. The truck turned sharply and a stack of empty bread trays rattled against the wall. Bella steadied herself with one hand. You said someone betrayed you, she said. Now you are asking about a woman. Elena Lombardi is my aunt. Does she live with you? She manages the household. Then why would her number be connected to someone watching the cafe? Vincent looked toward the rear doors as though he could see through them. That is what I intend to find out. The guard lowered the phone a moment later. Anthony confirmed she is in the East Wing. She has not left the house this morning. Her phone, Vincent asked, still on her desk. Bella felt a slow chill move through her. Then someone may have cloned the number. Vincent turned toward her. Possibly, or someone registered another device under her account. The guard glanced at Vincent, expecting him to dismiss the suggestion, but Vincent only asked, why would they do that? To make you look inside your own house instead of outside it. Vincent looked away. They already succeeded. Bella studied him. The threat at the cafe had been direct. The message aimed at her had been direct. This was different. It was designed to redirect suspicion. Maybe that was the real objective, she said. Whoever planned this wants you questioning your own people. Vincent's expression hardened. Fear keeps people alive, not when someone else decides where you point it. The truck fell quiet except for the sound of tires crossing wet pavement. The guard looked down, pretending not to listen. Bella could feel Vincent weighing every word she said. You think the photograph was bait, he said. I think everything this morning was too carefully planned to depend on one man in a baseball cap. She replayed the sequence in her mind, the reserved table, the false name, the floor plan, one security man drawn outside by a phone call. A photograph sent at exactly the right moment, a message linked to someone inside Vincent's home. Every step had guided his attention. They wanted you alive, she said quietly, long enough to make your next decision for you. Vincent frowned. That does not make sense. It does if moving you was more important than killing you. His eyes sharpened. Moving me where? Bella looked down at the backup drive resting inside her coat pocket. Wherever you were already planning to go. The truck slowed. Vincent immediately raised one hand. The guard checked the navigation display near the front. "Traffic light," he said. Mason's voice came faintly through the partition. "Red light at Park Avenue." Bella looked toward Vincent again. "Where were you supposed to go after the cafe?" He remained silent. She pressed the question. "You had a schedule. Whoever arranged the reservation knew it." "What came next?" Bella nodded slowly. "And if this attack forced you to rush home angry, suspicious, and convinced someone inside had betrayed you?" Vincent understood before she finished speaking. He leaned forward. "Call Anthony again. Full security sweep. Nobody enters the East Wing until I authorize it." The guard immediately placed the call. Bella's pulse quickened. "What is in the East Wing?" "Family offices, private records, secure communications, something worth stealing, something worth reaching before I do." The truck began moving again. Vincent leaned toward the partition. "Mason, change the route. Midtown Garage." "Understood." Bella looked back at him. "We are not going to your house, not until I know what is waiting there. Where are we going? A location that has no public connection to my family. How many people know about it?" 3. "Do you trust all 3? Vincent met her eyes for a long moment. "I did this morning." That answer unsettled Bella more than anything else he had said. 10 minutes later, the truck rolled into a concrete loading garage beneath an office building. The rear doors opened onto a quiet service bay. 2 black SUVs waited beside a freight elevator, but no drivers stood nearby. Vincent climbed down first, scanning the garage before signaling the others. Bella followed, keeping the backup drive inside her coat pocket. The air smelled of wet concrete and engine oil. A security camera rotated slowly overhead. Vincent's guard walked toward the elevator. Before he reached it, Bella heard a soft electronic chime coming from the SUV on the left. "Wait," she said. Everyone stopped. She pointed toward the vehicle. Its dashboard had come to life behind the tinted windshield even though no one was inside. The navigation screen glowed faintly. A second later, the speakers activated. A calm, electronically distorted voice echoed through the empty garage. "You are always predictable, Vincent." Bella saw Vincent become perfectly still. The voice continued. "Bring the girl to the house before noon, or your family learns what you have hidden from them for 15 years. The recording ended. Silence settled over the garage once again. Bella turned toward Vincent. He was still staring at the dark windshield, as though the message had reopened something he had spent years trying to bury. "What did you hide?" she asked quietly. Vincent answered without looking at her. "Something your father died trying to protect." For one suspended second, Bella forgot the garage, the rain, the waiting SUVs, even the deadline hanging over her. Only Vincent's last words remained. "Something your father died trying to protect." She stepped toward him before caution could stop her. Vincent's eyes shifted from the dark windshield to her face. The distance between them suddenly felt smaller, but no safer. "I knew of him. That is not the same thing." "No." "Then explain it." The security man near the elevator shifted uneasily, but Vincent raised one hand without looking away from Bella. The man remained silent. Bella could hear the hum of the overhead lights and rainwater dripping from the bakery truck behind them. "Your father's name was Thomas Morgan," Vincent said. "After leaving the Marine Corps, he worked as an independent security consultant." Bella's throat tightened. "I know what he did. You know what he told you." The words landed harder than she expected. Her father had been honest to the point of inconvenience. He returned shopping carts in empty parking lots. He admitted mistakes before anyone asked. He had taught her that character was what remained when nobody was watching. "Do not make him into a liar," she said quietly. "I am not." "Then stop speaking in pieces." Vincent glanced toward the silent SUV, then toward the security camera rotating slowly above the elevator. Bella let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "Someone threatens me, follows us across Manhattan, and now knows where we are. You still think this garage is private?" Vincent looked around the empty loading bay before answering. "Private is no longer possible. Less exposed is the best we have." Bella folded her arms. "Then tell me." Vincent drew a slow breath. 15 years ago, my family owned a shipping company on the Brooklyn waterfront. Officially, it transported food, furniture, and construction supplies. Unofficially, someone inside the company built a second operation that moved illegal cargo without my knowledge or authority. Bella studied him. "How old were you?" 21. "And my father?" "He had been hired to review our security after several containers disappeared." Memories returned in scattered pieces, her father leaving before sunrise, a second cell phone he never answered around her, a scar near his temple that he dismissed as a workplace accident. "He found something," she said. Vincent nodded once. "Shipping manifests, financial records, payment logs, enough to prove that someone inside my family's organization had created a hidden network. Why would my father protect that? He was not protecting the network. He was protecting the evidence until it could reach the proper authorities. Bella stared at him. Then why did he die? Her voice was barely above a whisper. Vincent's jaw tightened. The official report said he stopped to help a stranded driver on an icy highway before losing control of his vehicle. Bella nodded slowly. That is what I was told. For years I believed it too. The garage suddenly felt colder. Bella remembered the state trooper standing at their front door with his hat against his chest. She remembered refusing to wash her father's winter coat because it still smelled of cedar and coffee. What changed? She asked. 3 months ago, one of my forensic accountants uncovered a payment buried inside legitimate shipping expenses. It had been made the night before your father died to a driver connected to the same network that arranged the reservation at the cafe this morning. Bella felt the warmth leave her hands. You had 3 months to tell me. Not until I understood whether contacting you would place you in greater danger. You knew enough to investigate me. Vincent did not deny it. The silence between them grew heavier. That is why you recognized my name, Bella said. At the cafe, yes. And you said nothing. Recognizing your name did not prove your identity. Bella stepped back as if distance might help her breathe. You thought I could be involved. I considered every possibility until the evidence ruled it out. That is a convenient way to treat people like suspects. It is how I avoid making irreversible mistakes. Bella met his eyes. Did it save my father? The question stopped him. Whatever influence Vincent carried, whatever people answered to him, none of it had saved Thomas Morgan. Vincent lowered his gaze. No, he admitted. The honesty in that single word weakened her anger, but it did not erase it. What exactly did my father protect? She asked. The original evidence disappeared before investigators could recover it, Vincent replied. No one has found it in 15 years. Bella frowned. Then why threaten your family over something nobody has? Vincent looked directly at her. Because someone believes Thomas Morgan entrusted it to another person before he died. Bella's thoughts raced. She remembered her father's old house in Queens, sold years later. The storage unit she still rented because she had never found the strength to sort through the last boxes, his field watch, his notebooks, the dented coffee tin where he kept spare keys, receipts, and loose change. Then one memory returned with startling clarity. 1 week before he died, her father had pressed a small brass key into her palm at the kitchen table. He had smiled and told her it opened nothing important. The smile had reached his mouth, but never his eyes. Bella had clipped the key onto her key ring and forgotten about it. Her hand drifted toward her coat pocket. Vincent noticed immediately. What is it? She closed her fingers around her keys without taking them out. Maybe nothing, Bella. She looked up. My father gave me a brass key a week before he died. Vincent became perfectly still. Did he tell you what it opened? No. Do you still have it? Before Bella could answer, the speakers inside the nearby SUV crackled to life again. The same distorted voice returned, softer this time, almost amused. She remembers. Bella spun toward the vehicle. The navigation screen illuminated, displaying a live video feed of a narrow storage hallway lined with blue metal doors. She recognized it instantly, her storage facility in Queens. A digital timer appeared beneath the image. 2 hours and 31 minutes remained. Then the screen changed one final time. Bring the key or everything Thomas Morgan protected disappears forever. Bella pulled the brass key from her pocket and held it beneath the garage lights. It was smaller than she remembered, worn smooth along one edge after years of sharing space with apartment keys, cafe keys, and the small silver tag her father had engraved with her initials. For 15 years it had been nothing more than a piece of him she could carry without explanation. Now it felt heavier than everything else in her hand. Vincent looked from the key of the storage hallway glowing on the SUV dashboard. We are not going there, he said. Bella closed her fingers around the brass key. They know where the unit is, which makes it a trap. It also means they know my father left something worth finding. That does not require you to walk into their plan. No, it requires us to change it. One of Vincent's security men glanced toward him, waiting for instructions. Bella recognized the familiar shift in Vincent's posture. Faced with uncertainty, he instinctively reached for control. We go to another secure location, he said. My people locked down the storage facility. Bella shook her head. Your secure location was breached before we arrived. Someone keeps predicting your next move. The words hung in the air. Vincent did not argue. Then what do you suggest? Bella stepped closer to the dashboard screen. The live image showed an empty hallway lined with blue storage doors beneath harsh fluorescent lights. "Whoever is behind this wants us to rush there," she said. "If we send a convoy or surround the building, they still control the timing." Vincent folded his arms. "And your alternative? Find out what the key opens before we give them what they want." Vincent glanced at the countdown. 2 hours and 28 minutes remained. "You believe the key belongs to that storage unit? My father gave it to me 1 week before he died. He told me it opened nothing important." Vincent studied the key. "That sounds less like a joke than a way to make sure you kept it." Bella nodded slowly. "I was 11. If he had told me the truth, I would never have forgotten it." Vincent understood immediately. Thomas Morgan had trusted a child's innocence more than any safe or lockbox. "Where is the storage facility?" he asked. "Long Island City. About 25 minutes without traffic, too long." Bella thought back to every visit she had made over the years. "We may not need to go there yet." Vincent waited. "The manager keeps digital records, entry logs, gate activity, camera reports. If someone entered the building this morning, he can tell us without opening my unit." Vincent turned toward one of his men. "Get me the manager's contact information." Bella shook her head. "I already know it. His name is Calvin Reed." Vincent looked at her. "How?" "He comes into the cafe every Tuesday. Decaf, 2 packets of sugar. He complains about the Mets before he orders." A faint trace of approval crossed Vincent's face. "Call him." Bella reached for her own phone, then stopped. "If someone is monitoring my number, I will warn them." Without hesitation, Vincent handed her the encrypted phone from inside his coat. "Use this." Bella dialed the storage office. Calvin answered on the 4th ring, sounding distracted. She identified herself and asked whether anything unusual had happened that morning. Silence filled the line for a moment. "Funny you should ask," he finally said. "The security cameras rebooted around 7:30. We lost about 12 minutes. Met Vincent's eyes. "Did anyone enter during that time?" "The gate log shows a maintenance van, but nobody scheduled repairs." "Is it still there?" "No, it left before 8. Bella's pulse quickened. "Calvin, do not go anywhere near my unit." His voice changed immediately. "Bella, what is going on?" "I do not know yet. Lock your office. Call the police if anyone comes back." She ended the call before he could ask another question. One of Vincent's men lowered his phone. The company was dissolved 4 years ago. The license plate was reported stolen last week. Vincent looked toward Bella, so they reached the building. "Yes," she said. "But if they had already opened my unit, they would not still need this key." Vincent nodded slowly. "Unless the unit was never the real objective." Bella looked back at the live video feed. "The camera feed is live." "How do you know?" Vincent asked. "The timer is synchronized with the countdown they sent us. They want us watching it in real time." She thought about Calvin's missing footage. Someone probably used that camera outage to install remote access. Vincent considered the possibility. "Anthony can try to trace the signal without touching the network at my house." "Do it," Bella said. "If the house is compromised, keep every search outside it." Vincent studied her for a long moment. "You are asking me to trust one person while telling me my organization has been compromised." "No," Bella replied. "I am asking you to trust evidence more than instinct." Before Vincent could answer, one of his men looked up from his phone. "Anthony just reported something else." Vincent took the device. His expression hardened. "The second secure location was entered 20 minutes ago. Nothing was taken, but someone searched the entire place." Bella felt the pattern settle into place. The cafe, the garage, the alternate safe location. Every route Vincent might have chosen had already been anticipated. She looked at him. "They are not following us." Vincent frowned. "Then how?" "They already know how you make decisions." Silence settled over the garage. Then the dashboard screen flickered again. The storage hallway disappeared. In its place appeared a study lined with dark wooden bookshelves. An older man with neatly combed grey hair sat behind a polished desk, his hands folded calmly before him. Vincent went completely still. Bella did not recognize the man, but she recognized the look that crossed Vincent's face. It was not fear, it was recognition. The man leaned slightly toward the camera. "Bring Bella Morgan home, Vincent," he said evenly. It is time she learned what Thomas Morgan really died to protect. Bella watched the grey-haired man on the screen while Vincent's silence changed the atmosphere inside the garage. The man looked composed, almost comfortable, seated behind a polished desk that clearly belonged to someone else. One hand rested beside a crystal paperweight, the other lay across a closed leather folder. He did not look like a stranger who had forced his way into a room. He looked like a man who believed the room belonged to him. "Who is he?" Bella asked. Vincent kept his eyes on the screen. Gabriel Moretti. The name meant nothing to her, but it carried enough weight that both of Vincent's security men straightened almost instinctively. He was my father's closest advisor, Vincent continued. After my mother died, he helped raise me. Bella looked from the screen back to Vincent, and he knew my father. He knew everyone connected to the waterfront 15 years ago. Gabriel leaned back slightly, as though he could hear the conversation taking place beyond the camera. You have 2 hours, he said evenly through the SUV speakers. After that, the storage unit will be empty, the evidence will disappear, and the truth will belong to whoever tells the story first. The screen faded to black. Bella stared at her own reflection in the dark glass. The brass key remained tightly clenched in her hand. He wants us to go to your house, she said. Yes. Then going there is exactly what he wants. Vincent turned toward the freight elevator. He also wants me to believe he already controls it. Bella caught that single word. Believe. Does he? Vincent stopped. She replayed the image in her mind. The dark bookshelves, the heavy curtains, the crystal paperweight. Gabriel sitting perfectly centered behind the desk. Something had bothered her immediately, but it had not been Gabriel himself. It had been the room. You said that was your study, she said. It is. Which direction do the windows face? East. Do you normally keep the curtains closed? Usually. Bella nodded slowly. What sits on the left corner of your desk? Vincent answered without hesitation. A bronze reading lamp. Bella looked back at the black screen. It was missing. One of the security men frowned. Bella continued before anyone interrupted. Every bookshelf behind him looked almost identical. Every book had the same dark binding. The room looked staged, not lived in. Even the camera angle never changed when he leaned forward. Vincent, it was a replica, or a room built to resemble yours. She thought about the live storage footage. The storage hallway could be live. This recording does not have to be. Vincent reached for the secure phone. Anthony confirmed Gabriel entered the estate yesterday afternoon. That only proves he was there yesterday, Bella replied. It does not prove he is there now. Vincent looked at her for a moment. How do we verify it? Ask Anthony something that changed today. Something nobody could know from an old recording. Vincent immediately placed the call. He listened for less than a minute before ending it. The bronze lamp broke last night, he said quietly. It was removed before sunrise. Bella felt a small, cold certainty settle inside her. Then the recording cannot be live. One of the security men checked his own phone. Anthony says the estate is secure. Elena and every staff member have been accounted for. Vincent released a slow breath. Bella noticed because she had started watching for the smallest changes in him. We are not going to the house, she said. Vincent nodded once. Agreed. Bella looked down at the backup drive in her pocket. Before we decide anything else, we should review the original cafe footage. Vincent frowned. The sedan's plate could not be read. I am not interested in the plate. She looked at him. I am interested in everything around it. Vincent waited. The sedan was parked beside the curb, but I remember seeing a red awning reflected along its rear door. And the building across from the cafe does not have a red awning. It has a green one. One of the guards looked confused. Bella continued. Either I remembered it wrong, or the image on the camera was altered before we watched it. Vincent's expression sharpened. You think someone manipulated the recording, not the original recording, the playback. She glanced toward the SUV. Calvin already told us the security system restarted this morning. If someone gained temporary access, they could have inserted edited footage into the live review without changing the archived files. Vincent considered that possibility. Meaning the sedan may never have been there. Meaning the person who photographed me might have been inside the cafe all along. One of the security men instinctively reached for his phone. Vincent stopped him with a raised hand. No alerts, no assumptions. Bella heard the difference immediately. Earlier that morning he would have acted first and verified later. Now he was willing to test the evidence before accusing anyone. We review the archived files on an isolated system, Vincent said. Nothing connected to my home network. And we asked Calvin to inspect the storage facility cameras without opening my unit, Bella added. Vincent nodded, agreed. They left the garage through a private service elevator and entered an unused office suite several floors above. Grey daylight spread across rows of empty desks. One of Vincent's men disconnected a workstation from the building network while Bella inserted the backup drive. The archived cafe footage loaded successfully. She advanced through the timeline frame by frame. Customers entered. Mr. Carter carried invoices upstairs. Mason unloaded bread. Bella peered the counter preparing milk for the espresso machine. Then she saw a woman in a red raincoat standing near the pastry display, holding her phone chest high as though reading a message. Bella froze the image. The phone's screen reflected her face. "That is the photographer," she said quietly. "Can you identify her?" Bella advanced 3 frames. The woman turned slightly, her hood slipped back, revealing long blonde hair and a face Bella had not seen in 15 years. The breath caught in her throat. Vincent looked at her. "You know her?" Bella could barely force out the words. "That is Claire Bennett, her father's former investigative partner. The woman who had stood beside Bella at Thomas Morgan's funeral and vanished from her life the very same week." Claire Bennett's face remained frozen on the monitor, while Bella's memories rearranged themselves around it. Claire laughing in her father's kitchen. Claire bringing takeout during long work nights. Claire standing beneath a black umbrella at Thomas Morgan's funeral, one hand steady on Bella's shoulder while rain soaked the cemetery grass. Then nothing, no calls, no letters, no explanation. 15 years of silence, and now she had been inside the cafe before Vincent arrived, holding a phone aimed directly at Bella. "She worked with my father for almost 8 years, Bella said quietly. "Private security consulting, background investigations, site inspections, corporate risk assessments. She handled most of the administrative work." Vincent studied the frozen image. "Did she know about the waterfront investigation? If my father knew, Claire probably did too." Bella moved the archived footage backward. Claire entered the cafe at 8:12:24 minutes before Vincent. She ordered tea, paid with a prepaid card, and chose a seat near the pastry display with a clear view of table 7. She never once looked directly at Bella. Somehow that hurt more than if she had. Bella advanced the recording. At 8:26, Claire raised her phone and captured the photograph that later appeared on the abandoned device. At 8:31, she walked toward the hallway leading to the restrooms. She never returned to the cafe floor. "There is no public exit back there," Bella said. "Only the restrooms, the utility closet, and the hallway to the kitchen." One of Vincent's security men opened the service hallway recording. "She leaves through the rear service door at 8:34. Bella watched Claire cross the alley. She slipped a grey jacket over the red raincoat, pulled a baseball cap low across her forehead, and altered her posture as she walked away. "She disguised herself," Bella said. Vincent shook his head slightly. "Not enough to become the man behind me." Bella replayed the moment the man in the baseball cap escaped through the cafe entrance. The height was different. The build was different. "2 people," she said. "Claire photographed me and left through the rear. Someone else stayed behind Vincent." Vincent nodded once. "Which means she was part of the operation." Bella looked back at the screen. "Part of it, yes. That does not tell us whether she was working for Gabriel or against him." Vincent turned toward her. "You are giving her the benefit of the doubt." Bella met his eyes. "I am giving the evidence the benefit of the doubt." The answer lingered between them. Then Vincent looked back at the monitor. "Fair enough." Bella resumed the recording, examining every movement frame by frame. At 8:23, Claire checked her watch. At 8:24, Vincent's security man outside received the phone call that drew him away from the entrance. At 8:25, Claire slipped something beneath her teacup before standing. Bella froze the image and enlarged it. A plain white sugar packet. She frowned. Claire never used sugar. Vincent looked certain. She always drank unsweetened tea. Vincent immediately turned toward one of his men. "Call Mr. Carter. Ask whether the table has been cleared." The answer came less than a minute later. Police had already documented the cafe, but Mr. Carter had noticed the unopened sugar packet beneath the cup and left it untouched after officers finished photographing the scene. Vincent instructed him to seal it inside a clean food container. Mason volunteered to bring it. 20 minutes later, the bakery truck returned to the garage. Mason stepped into the office carrying the sealed container. "Nobody opened it," he said. Bella thanked him, wearing disposable gloves from the office first aid kit. Vincent carefully unfolded the packet. Inside was a narrow strip of paper folded 3 times. There was no threat, no demand, only 6 handwritten words. "He does not know about the second key." Bella stared at the message. Claire's handwriting had barely changed in 15 years. The letter B still leaned backward. The final stroke of every sentence still curved upward. "She left this for me," Bella whispered. Vincent studied the note. She left it where she knew someone reviewing the footage would eventually find it. Bella slowly removed her own key ring from her pocket. Apartment key, cafe key, car key, the worn brass key from her father. Nothing else. He only gave me one. Then Claire believes another key exists. If she has it, why not tell me where? Bella looked at the note again. It did not feel like a complete message. It felt like the beginning of one. She lifted the strip beneath the desk lamp. Tiny pinpricks appeared beside several letters. Vincent noticed them immediately. Bella copied the marked letters onto a notepad. HDK, they meant nothing until she turned the paper over. The tiny punctures formed 3 numbers visible only from the reverse side. 22, 14, 9. That looks like a combination, Vincent said. Bella felt her pulse quicken. Her thoughts returned instantly to the storage unit. Beneath several old boxes sat her father's steel field case. It had a 3-number combination dial on the front and a separate brass keyhole beneath the handle. She remembered trying the brass key years ago. It had never fit. The case uses 2 locks, she said quietly. A combination and a key. Vincent looked from the numbers to the brass key in her hand, which means the key opens something else. Bella nodded slowly. And Claire just gave us the combination without saying it outright. Vincent checked the time. 10:14. Less than 2 hours remained before noon. We go to the storage facility, he said. Bella shook her head. Not with a convoy. Agreed. Not through the main entrance. Agreed. The speed of his answer caught her off guard. He was no longer simply listening to her observations. He was building the plan around them. Before either of them could speak again, the encrypted phone vibrated across the desk. Bella answered because Vincent was still examining the note. No voice greeted her. Only the distant sound of a train passing close to the caller, followed by 3 slow taps against metal. Then Claire whispered only 4 words. Do not trust the timer. The line went dead. Bella lowered the phone and looked at Vincent. What did she say? Bella glanced toward the countdown still displayed on the captured image from the SUV. Then understanding settled over her. The timer is not counting down to the destruction of the evidence, she said quietly. It is counting down to the moment they expect us to arrive. The realization that the timer was false changed every decision they had made. Vincent looked from the disconnected workstation clock to the city map spread across the desk. 10:16. If Claire was telling the truth, noon was not the moment the evidence would disappear. It was the moment Gabriel expected Bella and Vincent to arrive exactly where he wanted them. We stop reacting to the countdown, Bella said. Vincent folded his arms. Then we find the place controlling the countdown instead. Bella replayed Claire's phone call in her mind, the roar of a train, 3 slow taps against metal. None of it had sounded accidental. Her father had always tapped 3 times on the kitchen table when he wanted her to look beyond the obvious answer. She leaned over the map. The storage facility is in Long Island City, she said. Several train lines run nearby, but only one passes close enough to overwhelm a phone call. She traced the elevated tracks near Queensboro Plaza. Somewhere around here, Vincent stepped beside her. The train tells us the area. It does not tell us the building. Bella remembered something Calvin had mentioned months earlier while complaining about rising maintenance costs. The storage facility replaced its camera system after a basement flood, she said. Calvin told me the video feeds were moved to an outside security contractor. One of Vincent's security men searched the company records through the encrypted phone Anthony had provided. A result appeared almost immediately. North Star Property Systems. Administrative office on 34th Avenue. 2 blocks from the elevated tracks. Bella looked at Vincent. If someone is manipulating the storage cameras, this is where they are likely doing it. Vincent did not hesitate. 1 vehicle, no family channels. Bella shook her head. Not one of your vehicles. He paused. You still think they recognize my fleet? After everything that happened this morning, I think we should assume they do. Mason, who had remained quietly near the elevators, raised the keys to the bakery truck. Nobody looks twice at a bread delivery. Vincent looked at him for a moment, then nodded. 15 minutes later, the white truck crossed the Queensboro Bridge beneath a ceiling of low grey clouds. Bella sat beside Mason while Vincent and 1 security man remained behind the partition. Morning traffic moved slowly through the rain. Around them, New York continued as though nothing unusual had happened. Office workers hurried along sidewalks. Delivery vans blocked loading zones. Coffee shops filled with customers who had no idea that the morning had become a race against a plan designed years in advance. At 10:52, Mason parked beside a wholesale flower market half a block from the North Star office. Bella climbed out carrying an empty pastry box to complete the appearance of an ordinary delivery. Vincent wore one of Mason's spare bakery jackets over his suit. The bright company logo looked strangely out of place on him, but it was less noticeable than the tailored coat he had worn earlier. Stay close, he said quietly. Bella looked at him. I will, but we both pay attention. He gave a slight nod. That answer was enough. North Star occupied the 2nd floor that had not yet opened for business. The entrance door was unlocked. Inside, the reception area smelled of dust, stale coffee, and old carpet. The reception desk stood empty, beneath flickering fluorescent lights, no voices, no ringing phones, only the distant vibration of an elevated train passing nearby. Bella felt the tremor through the floor before she heard it. 3 slow vibrations, the same rhythm Claire had used during the call. She walked behind the reception desk. A paper coffee cup rested beside a keyboard. The coffee was still warm. "Someone left recently," she said. Vincent touched the side of the cup, or wanted us to believe they did. Bella noticed 3 sugar packets beside it. 2 remained unopened. 1 brown packet had been folded lengthwise before being torn open. Claire always opened sugar packets that way. "She was here," Bella said quietly. A cable ran from the receptionist's computer through an open doorway labeled server room. Inside, 4 large monitors displayed security feeds from commercial buildings across the city. One showed Bella's storage facility. Another displayed the underground garage they had left less than an hour earlier. A third showed the front entrance of Vincent's estate. Bella felt a chill. Whoever controlled this room had not been chasing them. They had been watching every location they were likely to choose. Vincent looked toward his security man. "Copy every file on these systems." The man connected an encrypted drive. Bella stepped toward the monitor showing the storage hallway. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. Then she noticed the digital timestamp. It jumped forward 4 seconds, then backward 2. "This is not live," she said. She searched the control panel beneath the monitor until she found an alternate input labeled Archive Override. She selected it. The image changed immediately. The real hallway appeared darker than before. Several storage doors stood open, but Bella's unit remained closed. At the far end of the corridor stood Claire in the same red raincoat she had worn inside the cafe. She looked directly into the cameras, then pointed toward Bella's storage unit. "Second key." Before Bella could react, Claire turned toward someone standing outside the frame. The feed disappeared. Every monitor in the room went black. A nearby printer suddenly came to life. 1 sheet of paper slid into the output tray. Vincent reached for it, but Bella took it first. Thomas Morgan stood beside Claire at the Brooklyn waterfront 15 years earlier. Gabriel Moretti stood several feet behind them. Near Gabriel was a much younger Vincent. Bella turned the photograph over. On the back, written in Thomas Morgan's unmistakable handwriting, was a single sentence: "Vincent Lombardi is not the heir they fear. He is the witness they must control." Bella read it twice before looking up. Vincent had not moved. She looked at the front again and noticed a faint rectangular outline in one corner where another photograph had once been attached and later removed. Beneath the empty space, Thomas Morgan had written 2 initials. GM Bella looked at Vincent. "Gabriel was never trying to steal your family's evidence," she said quietly. "He has been trying to erase the only witness who could connect it to him." Vincent stared at the younger version of himself in the photograph. A distant memory seemed to return all at once. "I remember that night," he said. "Your father handed me something before he left." Bella looked at him. "What was it?" Without answering immediately, Vincent reached beneath his shirt and drew out a small silver medallion hanging from a plain chain. Bella froze. She had seen that shape before, not around Vincent's neck, but embossed into the brass mechanism of her father's locked steel field case inside the storage unit. Vincent looked from the medallion to the photograph. An understanding settled across his face. "The brass key was never meant to open that case," he said quietly. "This medallion is the second key." The silver medallion rested in Vincent's palm while Bella held her father's photograph with both hands. For 15 years, each of them had unknowingly carried half of the same safeguard. It did not feel like coincidence. It felt like a plan created by a man who knew he might never have the chance to explain it himself. Bella looked toward the dark monitors. "We need to reach the storage unit before Gabriel realizes we understand what the medallion is." Vincent closed his fingers around the silver piece. "He already knows we found the server room. Then we stop reacting to his moves and make one of our own." One of Vincent's security men disconnected the encrypted drive after copying every available file. "We have the surveillance records, access logs, and several encrypted folders. Anthony will need time to analyze them." Bella folded the photograph carefully and slipped it inside her coat. "Time is exactly what Gabriel has been controlling all morning. We stop giving it to him." Vincent studied her for a moment before giving a single nod. They left the North Star office through the rear stairwell and crossed 2 quiet blocks beneath the elevated tracks. The bakery truck remained exactly where Mason had parked it, blending naturally among delivery vehicles. 25 minutes later, they arrived at the storage facility in Long Island City. The wall clock inside the office read 11:23. Calvin had followed Bella's instructions. He had locked himself inside his office and opened the door only after recognizing her through the glass. His eyes widened when he saw Vincent standing behind her in a bakery jacket. "Bella," he said quietly, "the police told me someone would come by later." "They may," she replied. "Until then, please stay inside your office." Calvin nodded. "Your unit is still secure. The access system shows 4 failed attempts during the camera outage, but no successful entry." Bella felt a quiet sense of relief. "Did whoever tried it use my access code?" "Almost," Calvin answered. "Each attempt missed by 1 digit. Bella immediately understood they were guessing from old information. They never knew the actual code. Vincent looked toward the hallway. "How many exits?" "Front entrance, loading dock, and an emergency stairwell at the east end," Calvin replied, all alarmed. Bella handed him the encrypted phone. "If any alarm activates, call us immediately. Do not leave this office." The hallway beyond the security gate felt colder than she remembered. Long rows of blue storage doors stretched beneath fluorescent lights. Their footsteps echoed softly across the concrete floor. Bella counted until she reached Unit 214. Her father's padlock hung exactly where she had left it years earlier. No scratches, no fresh marks. She entered the access code, released the door, and slowly lifted it. The overhead light flickered on. Everything appeared untouched. Cardboard boxes lined one wall. A cedar chest sat beneath folded blankets. Her father's old Marine Corps duffel rested beside several framed photographs. The untouched order of the room unsettled her more than any sign of forced entry would have. Whoever wanted the contents had not yet found a way inside. Bella walked to the back corner and folded the blankets aside. The steel field case remained exactly where she remembered it, dark green, dented along one edge. A brass keyhole sat beneath a circular metal recess stamped with the same symbol engraved on Vincent's medallion. Bella knelt beside it. Her hands trembled once before becoming steady again. She inserted the brass key. It turned halfway before stopping. Vincent crouched beside her and placed the silver medallion into the circular recess. A soft mechanical click sounded from inside the case. Bella turned the brass key the rest of the way. The locks released together. She slowly lifted the lid. Inside rested 3 sealed envelopes, a canvas-wrapped ledger, a small cassette recorder, and a flash drive labeled in black marker, "Witness." Bella reached first for the envelope bearing her name. Her father's handwriting covered the front. For Bella, when silence is no longer safe. She unfolded the letter carefully. Vincent waited without interrupting as she read. "Bella, if you are reading this, Gabriel Moretti has found the trail I tried to hide. Do not believe whatever story he tells you about Vincent Lombardi. Vincent witnessed what happened, but he was never part of it. He saw the falsified shipping records, the forged signatures, and the payments Gabriel used to build his network. I entrusted the medallion to Vincent because nobody would search Kita evidence against his own family. Claire holds a second copy of the records. Trust her only if she says the words Blue Harbor." Bella lowered the letter slowly. "Blue Harbor," she whispered. Vincent looked at her. A verification phrase. Bella nodded. "My father expected Claire might have to prove who she was." She picked up the second envelope and handed it to Vincent. It carried his name in the same familiar handwriting. Vincent hesitated before opening it. As he read, the color gradually left his face. Bella waited until he lowered the page. "What did he say?" Vincent folded the letter carefully. "Thomas believed Gabriel arranged the thefts, manipulated my father into blaming rival organizations, and intended to use me either as a witness if everything succeeded or as the person blamed if it failed." Bella looked toward the canvas ledger. Names, dates, shipping routes, account numbers. Not rumors, not assumptions, evidence. "This proves everything," she said quietly. Vincent shook his head. "It proves the financial network. It may not explain what happened to your father." Bella reached for the cassette recorder. She pressed the play button. Static filled the small speaker before Thomas Morgan's voice emerged, older and more tired than she remembered. He described the shipping operation, Gabriel's hidden accounts, forged paperwork, and false reports that had misled the Lombardi family. A second voice joined the recording, Claire. She warned Thomas that Gabriel had learned someone was collecting evidence. She urged him to disappear before it was too late. Thomas refused. "If I disappear," he said, "Gabriel will know the evidence survived. If I stay where he can see me, Bella stays out of his reach." Bella closed her eyes. Her father had understood the danger all along. He had remained visible because he believed it protected her. The recording continued until Thomas spoke one final sentence. "If anything happens to me, Claire takes the duplicate records to federal investigators only after Vincent is ready to testify." The tape stopped with a soft click. Silence filled the storage unit. Bella looked toward Vincent. He trusted you to finish what he started. Vincent stared at the recorder without speaking, and I spent 15 years believing he had betrayed my family. Before Bella could answer, every overhead light went dark. A second later, dim emergency lighting flooded the hallway with a deep red glow. The encrypted phone vibrated in Bella's hand. Calvin's frightened voice came through immediately. "Bella, someone just opened the east stairwell. I cannot see who it is." Vincent stood, instinctively moving toward the doorway, but Bella caught his sleeve. "Wait." A slow metallic tapping echoed down the hallway. 3 taps, a pause, 3 more. Bella froze. She recognized the pattern immediately. Claire's signal. She stepped into the corridor and looked toward the far emergency light. A woman wearing a red raincoat stood beneath the illuminated exit sign. "Blue Harbor," Claire called. Bella took one cautious step forward. Vincent remained beside her. Claire's eyes moved from Bella to the open field case, then to the ledger resting inside it. Relief briefly crossed her face. "You found it." Bella wanted answers to 100 questions, but only one mattered first. "Where is Gabriel?" Claire's expression changed. "Closer than you think." At that exact moment, the encrypted phone rang again. Calvin's number appeared on the screen. Bella answered immediately. The voice that greeted her was not Calvin's. It was Gabriel Moretti's, calm and unmistakable. "Thank you for opening the case, Bella. Now hand the evidence to Claire and ask her who gave me the access code to your storage unit." Gabriel's voice filled the storage hallway with the calm confidence of a man who had spent years winning through doubt instead of force. Bella kept her eyes on Claire. Under the bright fluorescent lights, she could finally read every expression clearly. Claire did not look frightened. She looked tired. "Do not let him decide what you believe," Claire said quietly. Gabriel answered through the encrypted phone with a faint laugh. "That is exactly what someone with something to hide would say." Vincent stepped closer to Bella, not shielding her, only placing himself within reach if anything changed. "Did you give Gabriel my storage code?" Bella asked. Claire met her eyes without hesitation. "Yes." The admission landed heavily in the narrow hallway. One of Vincent's security men shifted his stance, but Bella raised a hand before anyone spoke. "Explain." Claire drew a slow breath. Gabriel already knew the first 4 digits. He had recovered them from old security files years ago. "If I refused to cooperate, he would have ordered people to search every place your father had ever used until they found you." Bella remembered Calvin's report. 4 failed attempts, everyone off by a single digit. "You changed the last number," she said. Claire nodded once. "I gave him a code that could never open the unit." Gabriel chuckled softly through the phone. "She has always known how to make betrayal sound like loyalty." Bella ignored him. "Where is Calvin?" There was a brief silence before Gabriel replied. "Safe for the moment." Bella tightened her grip on the phone. "Put him on. Bring the field case to the east stairwell first." "No," Vincent spoke before Bella could answer. His voice was steady enough to silence the hallway. "That will not happen." Gabriel's tone cooled. Thomas Morgan trusted the wrong man. Vincent did not respond immediately. Bella understood why. For 15 years, Vincent had carried the belief that Thomas Morgan had betrayed his family. Gabriel had built that lie into the foundation of everything that followed. Bella opened the field case again and lifted out the flash drive labeled Witness. "You still want this," she said. "Which means you never found Claire's copy." For the first time, Gabriel said nothing. Bella turned toward Claire. "Do you still have it?" "Yes." "Can you release it?" Claire nodded. "It is encrypted and stored separately. One command sends it directly to federal investigators." Gabriel's voice returned instantly. "Claire." The calm was gone. Bella recognized fear beneath the anger. Everything suddenly made sense. Thomas Morgan had never trusted one person with the entire truth. Bella held the original records. Vincent possessed the medallion and could verify what he had witnessed. Claire controlled the duplicate archive. None of them could finish Thomas's plan alone. Together they could. "Send it," Bella said. Claire slowly reached into her coat. Vincent's security man tensed until she removed only a phone. Gabriel spoke again, sharper than before. "If she sends those files, Calvin dies." Bella looked at the encrypted phone in her hand. The incoming call displayed Calvin's office number, but something no longer fit. Gabriel had manipulated camera feeds, phone numbers and recordings all morning. Every threat depended on convincing them he controlled events they could not verify. Bella raised her voice. "Calvin, if you can hear me, trigger the building alarm." For 2 long seconds nothing happened. Then a loud alarm sounded from the office near the entrance. Once, twice, 3 times. Claire looked toward Bella. Vincent understood immediately. Gabriel never had him. Bella lifted the phone. "You had access to the office phone system, that is all." Gabriel remained silent. "You wanted us to imagine everything else." The call disconnected. At that exact moment, Claire looked down at her own screen. The remote connection just dropped. "Send the files," Bella said. Claire pressed a single command. A progress bar appeared. 20%, 60. Vincent stepped beside Bella, watching the screen without speaking. 80, 100. Claire lowered the phone and released a breath she seemed to have been holding for years. "The duplicate archive has been delivered." Vincent looked at her. "Can it be recalled?" "No." A door opened at the far end of the hallway. Everyone turned. Gabriel Moretti stepped through the east stairwell alone. He looked older than he had on the screen and much smaller without carefully chosen camera angles or distorted audio. He carried no visible weapon. He simply stopped a short distance away and looked at Vincent. "You are willing to destroy your own family," he said quietly. Vincent took 2 measured steps forward before stopping. "No," he answered. "I am ending what was done in my family's name." Gabriel shifted his gaze toward Bella. "Your father believed the truth could protect everyone. Look where that belief left him." Bella felt the familiar ache rise inside her, but it no longer controlled her decisions. "He left us the truth," she replied, "and he made sure none of us could bury it alone." Sirens echoed faintly outside the building, growing steadily closer. Calvin had done exactly what Bella hoped he would do. Gabriel listened without moving. The sound seemed to age him more than the passing years ever had. Vincent's security man stepped forward. "Please remain where you are until the authorities arrive." Gabriel looked once more at Vincent, then at Bella, but he did not move. Claire approached Bella slowly. "I owe you more than an apology." Bella looked at her for a long moment. "Maybe one day we will have that conversation." Claire lowered her head. "I will wait as long as it takes." Vincent closed the field case and placed Thomas Morgan's letter carefully inside. "Your father trusted all 3 of us," he said quietly. Bella rested one hand on the worn steel lid. He trusted that the truth would survive if no one person carried all of it. Outside, the sirens came to a stop. Footsteps entered the building. For the first time that morning, the next sound did not belong to someone manipulating fear. It belonged to people arriving after the truth had finally been allowed to stand on its own. By sunrise the following morning, the storage facility had become part of a federal investigation. The steel field case had been sealed into evidence. Gabriel Moretti had been taken into custody without resistance, and every document recovered from the unit had begun its journey through the legal system. Bella spent most of the day in a quiet interview room answering questions from federal investigators. 3 doors away, Vincent gave a statement that confirmed the financial records, identified the hidden network Gabriel had built, and explained the role he had unknowingly played 15 years earlier. Claire surrendered the duplicate archive exactly as Thomas Morgan had instructed. The files matched the originals inside the field case, strengthening every piece of evidence instead of replacing it. Anthony delivered the copied surveillance files recovered from North Star. Calvin confirmed the attempted access to Bella's storage unit. Mason described the morning from the moment he arrived at the cafe until he drove the bakery truck across the city. Every witness completed a different part of the same story. For the first time in 15 years, the truth no longer depended on one person alone. 3 weeks later, prosecutors announced that the evidence supported charges for fraud, conspiracy, witness intimidation, obstruction of justice, and multiple financial crimes. Investigators also reopened Thomas Morgan's death. Months later, after reviewing newly recovered records and witness testimony, they concluded that his death had not been the random highway accident Bella had believed for most of her life. It had been the final consequence of an organized effort to stop him from delivering evidence that threatened powerful people. Bella stood alone in her apartment when the official findings arrived. She read her father's name at the top of the report, then the final conclusion at the bottom. For years she had blamed his instinct to help others for taking him away from her. Now she understood something far more difficult. He had not lost his life because kindness had been a mistake. He had lost it because honesty frightened people who depended on deception. The grief remained, but the anger she had carried against the best part of her father quietly disappeared. Claire never asked Bella to forgive her. Instead, she explained every year of silence. Gabriel had continued searching for Thomas Morgan's missing evidence long after his death. As long as Bella appeared unimportant, she remained safe. Claire believed distance protected her. Bella listened without interrupting. When Claire finished, Bella answered honestly. Protection without trust still leaves scars. Claire accepted the words without defending herself. They did not rebuild their relationship in a single afternoon. They began with conversations that slowly became longer than the silence that had separated them. Vincent faced consequences of his own. His testimony exposed legitimate businesses that Gabriel had quietly manipulated for years. Rather than protect the family name, Vincent voluntarily opened company records to investigators, dismissed every executive connected to the hidden network, and placed the Lombardi businesses under independent financial oversight. The shipping company survived. The real estate division survived. The construction contract survived. The corruption did not. Vincent understood that restoring a reputation would require years of consistent honesty rather than one dramatic promise. Elena remained at the family estate, but the East Wing no longer served as a private administrative office. With Vincent's support, it became the headquarters of a non-profit foundation providing legal assistance to families affected by financial fraud, witness intimidation, and corporate corruption. Anthony remained head of security, but Vincent rewrote every security procedure. Secrecy alone was no longer enough. Every important decision required accountability as well as protection. 1 month after the investigation began, Bella returned to the cafe. Mr. Carter had repaired the front windows, replaced the broken coffee cup, and installed a new camera system. Beneath table 7, he quietly attached a small brass plaque. It carried no names, only 4 simple words. Pay attention. Choose courage. Bella smiled the first time she noticed it. She resumed the morning shift while studying small business management during the evenings. 6 months later, Mr. Carter officially retired. Instead of selling the cafe to a corporation, he offered Bella a fair payment plan that allowed her to become its new owner. She renamed it Morgan House, not because she wanted to live inside her father's memory, but because she wanted the values he had lived by to continue serving other people. Mason became the cafe's primary bakery supplier. Calvin still visited every Wednesday morning and continued predicting that the Mets would eventually have a better season. The 2 nurses who had been inside the cafe that first morning became regular customers after overnight hospital shifts. The place no longer reminded Bella of fear. It reminded her that ordinary lives could quietly change history. Vincent visited often but never announced his arrival. On the first anniversary of the investigation, he entered Morgan House alone in a parked car, several storefronts away. Bella watched Vincent choose table 7 before calmly turning his chair so that his back faced the entrance. Nobody else noticed. She did. During their first meeting, he had believed survival required seeing every possible threat. Now he understood that trust could sometimes offer more protection than constant suspicion. Bella carried a fresh cup of coffee to his table. No cream, she said with a smile. No sugar. Vincent looked up. You remembered, Bella smiled. I remember everyone's coffee. He laughed softly. Not the way you remember mine. A year of court hearings, difficult conversations, quiet walks through city parks, and patient choices rested in the silence between them. Vincent had never spoken of debt. He had never suggested Bella owed him anything because she had saved his life. Instead, he had asked only whether she might someday allow him to become part of hers. Bella sat across from him. My father left us 2 keys, she said. Vincent touched the silver medallion still hanging beneath his shirt. One opened the evidence. Bella looked around the cafe. Morning sunlight filled the windows. Espresso steamed behind the counter. Customers talked freely. Nobody lowered their voice when Vincent entered anymore. The other opened a future neither of us believed was possible. Vincent slowly reached across the table and rested his hand between them without saying a word. Bella placed her hand in his because she wanted to, not because danger had pushed them together. They married the following spring in a small ceremony inside Morgan House. Mr. Carter, Mason, Calvin, Elena, Anthony, and Claire stood beside them. There were no hidden bargains, no family obligations, and no promises built on fear. Only honesty, patience, and the shared understanding that love could never erase the past. It could only decide how much power the past would have over tomorrow. 3 years after Bella first heard the quiet metallic click inside a crowded cafe, she stood behind the counter watching Vincent prepare her morning coffee. He measured every ingredient with exaggerated concentration before sliding the cup toward her with a smile that was far less guarded than the one she had first seen. Their young daughter sat nearby, tapping a spoon gently against a ceramic mug while waiting for breakfast. 3 soft taps echoed through the cafe. Bella smiled as the sound reached her. Once the smallest noise in a crowded room had warned her that everything was about to change. Now the smallest sound belonged to a family beginning another ordinary morning together. Thomas Morgan had believed that courage was strongest when it protected the truth. Bella and Vincent had spent years discovering that trust required just as much courage. In the end, neither fear nor power defined their future. The choices they made did.